We're going to move on to topic number 9. Before we do, folks, once again, if you want to call into this show, the number is right at the bottom of the screen. Make sure you call in. If you've got a sports topic you want to bring up, if you want to argue about any of the topics we've had, or if you just want to call and say hi, we'll be here to say hi right back to you. Also, make sure you follow us on Twitter. Brandon and I's Twitter handles are at the bottom of the screen as well. And if you are on YouTube watching Comeback Sports, make sure you give the Comeback Sports channel a subscribe. That means every time you go on YouTube, you want to watch something from Comeback Sports, just click on the subscription and you're right there. You just get the feed of all the videos that our amazing producer Ben Kudo pumps out every week. So make sure you do that on your YouTube site. Topic number 9, and this one's more local as well. It's on the college basketball side. The UMass Amherst Minutemen are going to be putting statues in front of their arena. It's the Mullins Center out in Amherst, Massachusetts. And, you know, there's 4 people that are going to be getting statues for UMass Minutemen. One is Jack Lennon, I believe his name was. He was a coach a long time ago at UMass, a very successful coach for them. He's going to get a statue. Dr. J, probably the most famous basketball player ever to play at UMass. Coach Calipari, John Calipari, and Marcus Camby. The reason why we brought this topic up is because some writers and some folks have said, including Dan Shaughnessy of the Boston Globe, that this is ridiculous that they're putting statues up of Marcus Camby and Calipari because of whatever, shame they brought to UMass. Brandon, what do you think about these opinions about, these guys getting statues in front of the Mullins Center?
Ah, man, I'm 50-50 on Camby and Calipari. Actually, I'm 60-40 on Camby. I'm 50-50 on Calipari. I'm 100% on Dr. J. Like, that statue should have already been up, man. Like, I'm mad that statue wasn't already up, because that was going to be my question, being like, why do we not have a statue of the greatest player in UMass history up already? Dr. J, Julius Erving, like the greatest, potentially one of the greatest of all time. So his statue should have already been up, man. UMass, you dropped the ball on that one. And then Jack Cohen, I think, is a deserving. I think he's a deserving member. I think most people can remember that name from UMass basketball history and in the program history. So I think Jack Cohen and Julius Erving, they definitely deserve a statue up there if they're going to get this going as like a little Hall of Fame area outside the stadium, which I think is great. I think it's great for alumni. I think it's great for fans. Like I said, Marcus Camby, I honestly think Marcus Camby is the second greatest player in UMass history behind Julius Erving. I think he honestly, when you say probably brought more eyes to the program than Julius Erving, obviously they played in a different era and, Marcus Camby played on, I guess UMass's Big Five, if you want to call it, right? The Big Five that they had in that era. Edgar Padilla and a couple other names to throw out in that era. But yeah, I mean, Marcus Camby was the man there. Everybody was watching UMass basketball. Everybody wanted to go to UMass because Marcus Camby. I mean, even their shoes and their socks, and they brought in this whole new era, kind of like the Fab Five did of Michigan when, they brought in that era with the black socks, the black shoes, and the shorts. UMass and the Marcus Camby era kind of did something like that, very similar. So I don't know, man. I'm kind of even changing my mind now as we speak, and I'm now 80-20 on Marcus Camby getting a statue. So let's make it happen. But Calipari, though, I don't know. I'm really 50-50 on that one. He really never got us the big one, right? Didn't get us the big one. And in my opinion, I think if you're a coach, you should probably have like a long, long history of being here, which his is a short history. It's not a long one. And he didn't win the big one for us. So I'd have to say no to Calipari. I'll have to say yes to the other 3.
Right, and I think that makes total sense. I mean, Dr. J and Coach Lennon, and those, they're going to get their statues. Nobody's going to, people should care, but they're not going to be certainly upset about it. With Camby and Calipari, I mean, like you said, they ushered in this refuse to lose team, right? Yeah. Camby, Lou Rowe, Carmelo Travieso, Edgar Padilla, all those guys, that people watched UMass basketball because of that team. People watched UMass basketball because of Marcus Camby. They knew he was going to the NBA. UMass had never had a player like that before, probably since Dr. J. Calipari was successful at UMass. They got to the Final Four. Now, what happened was It came out later that Marcus Camby took cash, took some jewelry. He benefited from an agent while he was playing at UMass, which means that because he got those benefits, that made him ineligible when they made their Final Four run. So what happened was that Final Four run was then vacated from the record books. And then I think 150 grand or something like that, UMass had to give back because that's how much money they made at the tournament. They did that, this time around, it'd be a lot more than 150 grand. It might be an extra zero at the end of that. But, this isn't like the worst scandal in the history of college basketball. It's probably not even the top 10. It's probably not even the top 50. So let them put these stats, why are people flipping out about this stuff? Dan Shaughnessy, Boston Globe, what are you doing? Are you just bored? Are you just bored right now? This is the reason why people want to, like you said, want to go to UMass, watch UMass basketball. It's the popularity of UMass basketball has gone down because they haven't had a Coach Cal. They haven't had a Marcus Camby. One of the biggest, how much money did the university make selling those T-shirts, selling those shorts, like you said, that we all got the black UMass shorts with the UMass logo at the bottom of the, near the knee. How many, I watched so much more UMass basketball when I was in middle school because I loved Marcus Camby. I loved that team. So, let them put up these statues. Nobody's going to be upset about this, 6 months from now. But everybody's got to get upset about everything. The fact that, people think that Calipari and Camby brought shame to the athletics department at that university. They make it sound like they were part of that BC betting scandal, which was way worse than what we're talking about right now. There's guys on BC involved with the mob. But, this isn't as, Camby made a mistake, obviously. He's admitted that he made a mistake. You watch that, I think it was a 30 for 30 on ESPN about Calipari, and Camby said that he screwed up. He said that Calipari didn't make a mistake. Who knows if that's true? I think Camby sort of took one for the team with that whole thing, didn't want to, get UMass in trouble. They ended up losing some money in the vacated Final Four. People are still going to remember that team went to the Final Four. Just because it's not in some book doesn't mean that people are going to forget that, because that's the greatest memory in the history of UMass athletics. Maybe besides winning the Division II college football national championship with Mark Whipple. People are going to remember that. So put the stat, I have no problem with these statues. If you think this is the worst thing, for college athletics, get out of here. Some people, Penn State fans were upset that Paterno's statue was taken down after the Jerry Sandusky scandal. People were still upset that a statue was being taken down. That's when you don't erect a statue of somebody, when something crazy like that happens. This is peanuts, I think, compared to some other NCAA scandals.
Yeah, no, you bring up a good point, and I'll bring up two quick ones right before we move on. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure every star NCAA player back then was taking some gifts or something. So I blame more the NCAA than I do these student athletes or these coaches, especially during that era. We can even go back. That Fab Five team had, I think, an issue that was very similar. Lewis Hamilton is the man. Thank you, producer Ben. Love that. I love seeing him. But then also you get to see the young Calipari and the young Camby. This is such a throwback picture right now, honestly. And it showed, that was in Calipari's young days as a coach too. And he was learning how to even be a good coach at that point. So I think it's understandable, even if he made some mistakes as a young coach and Marcus Camby to make some mistakes as a young man. But I blame more the NCAA, honestly, for those things because of what they do and how they exploit athletes and student athletes. It's like the NCAA can gain everything and the student athlete can gain nothing. And obviously there's been some push for that to change over the years, but still much hasn't changed there. So there's that. But then there's also the question, like you said, that put UMass back on the map, man. And it's arguable if they've been on the map since then for many things. So you bring up a good point of, I'm not sure why there's so much pushback on this because there's so many worse things that have happened. And even, like you said, we might even need to cover that BC story of that point shaving scandal with the mob, because that was much bigger than this. So it's just, it's really one of those things where I think, UMass, go ahead, pop up those statues. You won't hear anything from me and Pat, but you might from Dan O'Shaughnessy. Wah, wah, wah.